guys, welcome back. I'm Kylie and today I have these little neck clams with some VIET CAJUN seafood sauce and some rice and cucumber. So grab your spoons, grab your forks, or grab your chopsticks and let's eat together. Let's get started. I'm so excited. I have the trash right here. Let me just throw these straight into the trash. You guys, this whole staying home thing is getting really old. I mean, definitely we're gonna keep doing it for as long as it's recommended, but it's just getting to be a lot. I hope everybody's hanging in there okay. Okay, so today, oh my gosh, we've just been watching everything on Netflix. Today I want to talk about I Am a Killer, this series. So one of the episodes is about a man named David Barnett, and he had a really rough life. I mean, his whole life was difficult. When he was born, his mom didn't want him, so I think she was a drug addict, so she gave him to her friend, some guy. And he didn't feed him, didn't bathe him, molested him. It was just, hearing about it, it was just absolutely heartbreaking. And he entered the foster care system and was in between houses. He had one house that was the most stable that he ever had, the most stable family. But they moved away internationally, and they didn't want to adopt him, so he was placed in another home. Also, my contacts are bothering me, so I've got these glasses on. Sorry. I hope you're not distracted by it. Anyway, I did wash my hands too, so they're clean. Anyway, so he's placed with this man who is a single man, and he's fostered a couple kids through the system. He lived with him for some time, probably I can't remember, but probably around a year. And he never did anything to him. He was really good to him. And one day he asked David if he wanted to be adopted. Of course, David said yes. That was definitely what he wanted. He didn't want to be in the system anymore, and he wanted a family. So he was officially adopted by this man. Shortly after being adopted, he realized things were kind of weird. And this man started making him, I think he was 8 at the time, started making him sit on his lap and touch him and put his tongue in his ear. That's disgusting. An 8-year-old boy, ugh, come on. And pretty much David was molested by this man who adopted him. And then he later adopted two more boys younger than David. As David got older, he told his friend about what was happening with the man he was living with. One day, David finds a picture, an explicit picture of the man who adopted him and one of his younger brothers, adopted younger brothers. And he decides to tell his friend, and they decide to take this picture to the police department. And pretty much they get turned away. I mean, the picture doesn't have anybody's face in it, but it has like his adopted dad's hand and the ring that he always wears in the picture, but they can't do anything because his face isn't in the picture. So we pretty much tell him they can't help him, and nobody does anything to help him. Like, it's so terrible. The system totally failed him. And he was 19 years old when this happened. He lived not too far from his adopted grandparents. So the man who adopted him, his parents lived like 3 houses down, and he was really close with them. They treated him really well. So he wanted to tell them about what was happening to him and what had happened to him since he was 8 years old with this man who is their son. And okay, so he wants to tell his grandparents about, his adopted grandparents, about their son and what he's been doing to David. And his friend says it didn't go as planned, so it ended in a complete, like, overkill, savage murder of his adopted grandparents. Like, they were each stabbed over 10 times, and it was just a bloody crime scene. And he turned himself in and like confessed to it, but he says that he blacked out, so he like doesn't remember any of it. And some psychologists would say that he just inadvertently took out his anger for his adopted stepdad and what was done to him onto his grandparents, because I'm sure they didn't want to believe that their son was doing that to, you know, his adopted sons. So he just, I guess, took out his anger on them and savagely murdered them. And he was sentenced to death. And he was sentenced to death because the jury knew nothing about his abusive past and childhood. I mean, he was 19 when he murdered his adoptive grandparents, and he had a public defender, so the public defender wasn't being paid what he wanted to be paid, so he wasn't invested in David the way he should have been, because he just didn't do his job, and just, it was a total injustice to David. And He didn't interview any key witnesses. He didn't reveal David's abusive past and childhood and everything he had been through. So after being in prison for 22 years, the judge overturned his death conviction to life in prison instead of the death penalty, because it was argued that he didn't get his a fair share of information wasn't shared during his trial. I guess now there's a petition on change.org to release him on parole because of all the ways that the system failed David. And he's claimed that he wants to be a productive member of society, and it seems when he's telling his story, it seems genuine. But I mean, I don't know him personally, so I'm not sure. And I'm not sure that somebody, I mean, it's terrible what happened to him. It should have never happened to him, and I feel really just remorseful for his life and just all the adversity he faced. I mean, it's more than adversity. Like, it's just all disgusting, and he should have never been through that. He was a child. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not in a position of power, I guess, to make that decision, because what a difficult decision to make, you know? It's terrible, because what about his poor grandparents that were savagely murdered, you know? Like, they deserve some justice too. They didn't do anything. I guess his adoptive dad ended up dying of natural causes, and he was never charged of anything. So, like, it just makes me wonder how many more child molesters and stuff are out there free hurting children. It just reminds me of, like, the Gabriel Fernandez case, because the system failed him too. And it's just heartbreaking that, like, so many children enter the foster system and they're not being helped the way they should. That's just one thing that's, like, wrong with our country, along with healthcare. Sad. It's kind of scary, like, watching I'm a Killer, because I don't know that I could be the person interviewing. Just like, I've seen, like, interviews with Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh my gosh, he's, like, actually really super intelligent, and, like, they let him be interviewed without being handcuffed or anything. Like, can you imagine being the person interviewing Jeffrey Dahmer? Just being in the presence of evil, like, that's scary. I'm not really even sure if David Barnett is a threat to society just because, I mean, of what happened to him and how he was saying that it was, he didn't mean to kill them, he just kind of blacked out. And maybe the abuse he suffered, like, finally came out because he, like, suppressed it for so long. And they were the people that he loves the most. Like, when I was younger, I always took out my anger on my parents because, like, they love you the most, right? And you know they're always going to be there. They're your safe zone. So no matter what, like, you say or whatever, they're still going to be your parents. And it's not the right thing to do because you're hurting the ones you love. But I'm going to take those off because I'm sweating. This is a little bit spicy, but so good. But yeah, I mean, they're always going to be your parents. So it's like so much easier to take it out on them than it is to like take it out on your friend or your significant other, right? Because then they can be like, well, you don't choose your family, you choose your friends, right? It's easier for a friend to be like, fine, if you're gonna be a brat, like, I don't want to be your friend, you know? But your family is your family no matter what. It's just sad because, like, in the series they interview his friend, and his friend corroborated his story. So it just kind of makes you wonder, you know? I mean, he, out of all of them, seems like he's the closest to telling the truth, more than the other ones are. I think the female ones seem like they're more manipulative. If you guys like hearing about stuff like this, let me know in the comments and I'll talk about stuff I watch, because I like true crime and all that stuff. Like, my dad, growing up, every Saturday night he would watch Cops, and then he would watch America's Most Wanted every single Saturday. So I've been watching that stuff since I was a kid. I don't even know if America's Most Wanted is still on with John Walsh. He actually started doing that because his own son was kidnapped and killed. So he knows what it feels like. So sad. But truly, those people, like, when bad things happen to them and they turn it into something productive and positive, like, he's saved a lot of kids and people's lives ever since he started that America's Most Wanted. So, you know, in honor of his son, he started that and was helping law enforcement, and they were able to just get a lot of criminals off the streets. Just like one of the school shootings at one of the elementary schools in Connecticut, I think. Where the parents of the children who were killed, you know, in their honor, like, are trying to change legislation and just protect kids and help them being more aware so it doesn't happen to anybody else. They did a campaign showing what it would be like if a school shooting were to occur. And some people think it's politically motivated to ban guns and stuff, which I'll tell you right now, I am pro guns. I'm definitely behind, you know, the Second Amendment and citizens being able to protect themselves. Like, and we have guns, so I'm not against owning guns, because you're never gonna get them off the street. You might as well let responsible citizens have guns and protect themselves. Sorry, I did not mean for it to turn into this, but I just had to say that. But the campaign they were doing was super emotional, and it's super scary to have children nowadays. Such a scary world we live in, especially now too, the coronavirus. Anyway, you can find David Barnett's petition. It's not his petition that he started, but a petition on change.org for David Barnett to be released on parole because of what he suffered throughout his life, which led him to commit that crime. It's so sad to think about, like, if he would have ended up staying with the family that treated him nice, you know, before they moved away overseas, he'd be living a different life. He probably wouldn't be in jail, prison. It's crazy how, like, one decision in life, I mean, can change your whole path. And it's so hard to understand that when you're young. But the sooner you get to understand that, the better, because everything you do, every decision you make can change the direction that your life is headed. It's crazy. But goes for people who are in a bad situation too. You can make better decisions and change and alter your life for the better. Yum. All right, I'm finishing up here. Done. I hope you enjoyed hearing about David Barnett. Check out I Am a Killer on Netflix if you're interested. I think it's in season 2, and the title of it is Overkill. If you enjoyed this story and you want to hear more, give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, click that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate all the help and support. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy. And until next time, see you later.